Come with me while I create a brand new colorway for my shop. Hey there, Fiber Junkies! Welcome back to the Color Cauldron. I'm Johanna, the owner and dyer behind Potion Yarns and the host of this video channel. I'm so happy that you've joined me today. We're going to do something very special and kind of unique on this channel that I haven't done before, and I'm really excited to share it with you. I've gotten some great feedback lately on my Instagram and Facebook channels when I've posted short little videos of me dyeing yarn in my kitchen. Every time over the last 4 years of having a business that I've shared photos or videos of me actually working on the process of dyeing yarn, I get a lot of positive feedback, great comments. People love to see the process, and I often get a lot of questions too. And so I thought I would share with you something a little different today. I want to invite you into my process as an artist and take you along with me while I create a brand new colorway for my shop. Are you ready? It's going to be so fun. Come on and let's join in. Before we get started, don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up and leave me a comment below at the end of the video and let me know what you think of this this style of video and this type of thing that I'm doing. Do you want to see more of this? Do you like this? Is there something else you'd like to see? And what you think of the finished colorway in the end, because I will be sharing pictures after we finish dyeing. I will get some photos and add it to the end of this video. But also make sure that you hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell so you get all the notifications and you don't miss a video. We do a whole lot of different things on this channel. It's going to be different stuff, not just dyeing yarn. But I want to know what you guys think, and I definitely don't want you to miss any of the fun content that we have. Let's get to the fun part of creating a brand new colorway. This video is especially dedicated to a customer of mine, and she doesn't know that I'm going to be doing this, but Peggy, this one is for you. You have been so patient and waiting for me and giving me great inspiration, supporting my shop, and you've waited so long, a whole year for me to do this for you. I feel so bad it took me so long, but thank you for your patience, and I'm glad that you kept reminding me to do this because I am really excited about it, and I definitely wanted to share this with you. So Peggy and everyone else, welcome, welcome. Today we're going to be creating a very special yarn that Peggy inspired me to do, specifically colored in honor of the late great screen actor John Wayne. He was my dad's favorite actor. I grew up watching old movies and we loved watching those together, and my dad especially loved John Wayne films, not just the westerns that he's well known for, but a lot of times the war movies and historical pictures, as well as some of his more dramatic and comedic roles in things like Hellfighters and Hatari. So I finally got around to it. I'm so sorry it took me so long, Peggy, but I am going to create that yarn for you, and I wanted to invite you to be part of the process. So here we go. Now for the first part of this process, we're just going to be doing research. This is the part that some people think is boring. I personally love it because I love finding inspiration and getting the ideas stirring. Now it's time to go ahead to the computer and do a little bit of research. So the things I'm going to be looking for is, I'm going to obviously just look up him. We'll be looking for pictures, of course, but that's the one everyone thinks about. They think about looking for pictures and then just copying a picture. I don't do that. I'm one of the dyers who doesn't like to take a photo and try to exactly recreate it. I will do that occasionally, and sometimes I'll even share the picture that inspired a yarn, but more often than not, I get a variety of pictures, almost more of like a mood board, and I like to collect a bunch of things and put them together, and then whenever I can, I also like to read about the subject. I really try to dig into the subject matter and learn everything I can about it, because I think that that creates a more holistic picture that allows me to create those really richly layered, multi-dimensional yarns that you all know and love. So let's head to the internet and let's do some research and learn what we can about John Wayne. Okay, so now that we are at the computer, we are going to be looking for some inspiration photos. When I'm creating a new yarn color and I have a theme or a personality or an idea that I'm basing it off of, I like to get some inspiration by finding some pictures that are either of the thing that I'm, like a specific thing, like a person, like in this instance, or in the like mood or genre or idea that I'm looking for. I find that visual inspiration can be really, really helpful for me. So I have Googled John Wayne, and I'm going to do an image search. So after I type in John Wayne, I'm clicking on images on Google, and I'm just looking through a bunch of pictures, and there's a whole bunch here of him from various parts of his life. and I'm just going to save any pictures that seem to me to be very indicative of him. So we have some pictures of him early in life in black and white stills, and we've got pictures of him a little bit later on. He started way back when black and white movies were the only thing available pretty much, and early color in the late 30s, color was coming into play more frequently, but it was still kind of new and expensive, and so a lot of films were still shot in black and white. But he had a career that lasted up through the 70s, and so a lot of his films in the second half of his career are in color. Not surprisingly, most of the pictures I'm finding of him are from his Western pictures. That is what he is best known for, is playing kind of that good, old-fashioned, rugged Americana cowboy, tough as nails and a little bit gritty, but with a heart of gold, a tender spot, but you know, he's about honor and duty but also practicality. You know, honor to a degree, but also a level of practicality as well. I'm definitely seeing a theme though. When I thought of John Wayne originally in my head, I just immediately thought of browns, shades of tan, beige, brown, because obviously a lot of his pictures are Westerns, a lot of his movies were that, and he wears a lot of khakis, denim, browns, leather, tan, beige, rawhide, all these kinds of things. And so I was definitely thinking that, and I think I do want to incorporate some shades of either tan or brown or beigey color in some way, but I was originally thinking of doing more of like a semi-solid or a tonal yarn, so it would be basically one color. It reads as one color, but it'd be dyed in multiple pots on the stovetop, so you would get lots of layers of colors. So I'd layer beige, tan, a little bit of brown, maybe some of those colors, maybe a hint of orange or gold here and there to kind of warm it up, but really, really multiple shades. Ooh, I don't have much battery left. Multiple shades of brown and beige was kind of what I was going for, but I felt like that was maybe a little bit boring. And as I'm looking through these pictures, I am noticing a theme. He wears a lot of blue, like kind of, and not just denim like jeans, but like this kind of navy or deep sapphire kind of blue, a darker blue. There's some light blue here and there as well, but he does wear a lot of those. I'm noticing several of these pictures. There is a theme. In more than one movie, he wears a similar kind of outfit. There's this kind of salmon coral colored shirt that I think is really, really intriguing. And I love it juxtaposed with his brown leather vest. Okay, I know, go away. I love the juxtaposition of the salmon coral color with the brown leather vest and the blue neckerchief or scarf around his neck. And I'm also seeing a couple of these photos where that is reversed. In other films, that's reversed, and he's wearing this dark blue navy shirt with the tan vest and then a coral or salmon colored neckerchief. So those colors keep showing up on repeat for him. So I think I'm gonna probably try to mix some of that. I feel like the navy and the tan are very like masculine, manly, very Americana, basic, traditional shades, but the coral and the salmon really throws a wrench into it. It adds kind of a touch of feminine that you don't normally associate with John Wayne. But I think I'm moving away from the tonal idea. I'm really loving the idea of some variegation, but I want to do something different than just a traditional lay it in the pan and paint the colors on. I want something a little more, I don't know, a little more rugged. So I think it's time to get in the dye kitchen and start creating. What do you think? All right, so now that we have looked at our inspiration and decided on the kinds of colors that we're going with, here is the actual formulating of our new color based on John Wayne. So here we go. I'm going to be working with just 3 skeins to start off because I don't want to dye up a whole bunch of it until I see if I actually like it. So I usually start with 2 or 3 skeins just to kind of dip my toes in, see how it goes. At the very most, I'll do 4 at a time when I'm making a new color, just because I don't want to waste yarn and dyes on making something that I don't really like. Now, in this pot, I have filled it up with water and it's heating on the stove. I'm going to turn it down just a little bit. And I've already put in some citric acid, which is going to cause the colors to strike onto the yarn, which means the yarn will absorb them. So the dyes won't actually adhere to the yarn without acid. Okay, and I've decided I'm going to work with, I'm trying to create that kind of peachy salmon-y color that was on John Wayne's shirt in some of those photos we looked at. So I'm going to actually start. This is a kind of a peachy pinky sort of a color. It's a little too pink on its own, so I'm going to mix it with some other things. And no, I'm not going to give out the exact measurements and colors that I'm using because I don't give out my recipes, but yeah, I'll kind of give you the idea of what we're working with here. So I've got the kind of pinky peach color, and then I'm going to add to it a little bit of more of like an orangey, peachy, an orange-based kind of coral, almost like a salmon-y kind of a color. Coral, salmon, something in that family. So this has a little, this second color has more of an orange base, and the first one had more of like a pinky orange. Hopefully you can see that color. And I do have a light on my stove on right now, so that kind of changes the color a bit. But I'm going to make sure that that dye completely absorbs. See, there, that looks a little bit better. You can see a little bit better there. So that's the kind of color that we are working with right now. Pardon my shaky camera as I move things around. And I'm going to be adding my 3 skeins. These I have been soaking for quite a while here this morning while I was setting up the dye studio. So I am going to add these pre-soaked wet yarns. I've squeezed the excess water out, and I'm just going to pop them in. Now these have been tied off. I just added a bunch of ties around the skein before I soaked them so that they won't get all tangly. People always ask me, how do you keep them from getting tangly when you just put them in a big pot like that with water? And the answer is, sometimes I don't. Sometimes yarn gets tangled, and I hate that. It takes way too much time away from my work to untangle it, so I tie it off as much as I can to try and make it so that it won't tangle. Those added ties keep it from getting too tangly. And now that is just going to have to sit for a little bit, so we're going to let that sit, and that's called letting the dye strike. It shouldn't take too terribly long, but I do want to make sure that it absorbs all of that lovely peachy orangey coral color. Okay, so our John Wayne yarn has been sitting here on the stove. Oh yeah, turn the light out. It's been sitting here on the stove for about 10 or 15 minutes, and it's looking really good. Now the color, when I'm looking in my phone that I'm using to film with, the color is really, really off. It's actually a lot more of a pinky salmon. It's looking very orange on my screen, but it's actually a pinky salmon, and it's looking really good, but it's not exactly ready yet. So I think we're going to do another round of color. Ooh, look out as I throw water everywhere. Most of my yarns are built in layers, which is what gets the rich, rich colors that I have become known for. And I really love it because you get a lot of dimension that way, and I'm able to build really complex colors. So for this next round, we're going to do a little bit more of the orangey, corally, kind of salmon-y color that I did before. I'm just going to do a very small amount of it, but I am going to do a little bit more of it. And then I'm going to add to that, it's just a tiny bit pinkish to me, so I'm going to add to that the smallest little squish of a kind of reddish color. Just a little bit of red to kind of deepen and darken up that corally salmon color, because I want to counterbalance that pink quite a bit. I'm doing just itty bitty amounts of the red. And this is why I have so many colors in my arsenal, because all reds are not created equal. So I probably have 6 or 8 different reds at least, maybe more. So we're going to go ahead and drop this yarn back in. And this is why I'm using such a big pot, even though there's only 3 skeins in here, because I want this yarn to be able to move very freely in the water. So you want to be able to really move that around and let it open up to accept that color, because if it's all packed down tight inside of there and it can't move freely in the water, then you're going to have some parts of the yarn that take up the color and some that don't, and you're going to get resist, which sometimes that's a cool technique. Sometimes I use that technique, but that's not what we want on this yarn. And like I was saying in the inspiration version, I'm actually going to probably create 2 different types of yarn for this John Wayne color because I can't make up my mind what I want to do. But I really love this idea of doing like a tonal background like this, a semi-solid coral background, and then painting on the browns and blues that we're going to add to it. So. Now we have moved our John Wayne yarn to the pan. As you can see, we've added some more warm water and citric acid, and we've got it on low heat on the stove top, so it's not boiling, but it's going to keep it nice and warm and let that color strike. And now I really wanted to add in those other tones that we talked about in that picture that we're using as inspiration. So I really was, like I said, when I think of John Wayne, I think of like the browns and beiges and khakis and stuff, so I want to put in some brown tones, but I don't want it to be too dark. And when you're painting dry dye powders onto yarn, it looks significantly different than when you are working with dye stock solutions, which is where you mix the water with the dye in like a bottle or a container first and then pour it on. So direct dye powders do look quite a bit different on the skein. And I also have to consider that I already have a base color down. So this isn't the same as when I painted onto white yarn because it's already got color there. So I have to consider how is the color that's already on the skein going to be affected by the colors that I'm putting on, because it's not going to look the same as it would on plain white yarn. So I have chosen one of my favorite dry dye powders to work with. It looks very, very different when painted on this way as it does when used kettle dyed, like I did the first couple rounds of this, or as it does in a solution, but I think it's going to be just about right. My main concern is I don't want the brown to be so dark that it looks black or just doesn't read as a very pretty brown. I really want that like warm, westerny kind of medium toned brown, just kind of like rawhide and leather, and I really want that look. So I'm just going to paint it on one end, and then I think I also want to paint it on somewhere else. I think I'm going to go in the middle, or just a little bit higher than middle here. And I'm keeping the color runs fairly short. This one is going to be a slightly longer color run, but still not super long, or this isn't going to create like a self-striping look. It's going to be a little bit more variegated than that. But I'm wanting to create short little blips of color up here, so I'm going to add some up here as well. I'm going to go ahead and keep painting this on a little bit, and then I am going to use a really nice jewel toned kind of royal blue to add some speckles as kind of like a little pop over this. So we're going to add those. I'm going to go ahead and speed it up a little bit so we can get through this quickly, but this kind of gives you the idea of what I'm going for. I had the dyes put away, the kitchen all cleaned up, and I put the yarn out to dry with a fan on it to try and speed it up because I was so excited to see it dry. You know, it's always interesting how different it can look when it's wet and in the pan as opposed to after you get it all dried and skeined up and looking pretty and presentable. It really can change it. I have learned over the years how to be able to look at my yarn and read it even when it's wet in the pot, so most of the time there are no big surprises anymore, although it still happens occasionally. But when I first was starting out, I was always amazed at how it could look so much lighter or darker or brighter or more speckled or less speckled or whatever in the pan, and then I get it dry, get it twisted up, and it looks so different. Sometimes that's not a good thing, but most of the time it's a really happy, pleasant surprise, and it's even more beautiful than I was anticipating. But I'm pretty excited about this one. I think we did a great job, and I'm very excited to see how it came out. So, are you ready? Are you ready? Here we go! Yay! I love this yarn. It turned out so beautiful. Here is the 3 skeins of worsted weight that I was dyeing for you. These are the exact skeins that you saw in the pan as you came with me into the dye kitchen. These are what we created. I love them, you guys. It turned out so good. So good. So happy. I really love it. I was originally planning to do the salmon background with some speckles and just a tiny bit of the brown, and I was only going to speckle the blue on, and I'm so glad that at the last minute I decided to put some blue in there as a tiny little painted section as well as a speckle, because I really think that makes a big difference, and it captures those 3 colors that we wanted to pull out so well. So if you'll remember, we talked about using that salmony coral color for his shirt, and I love that that is the basis, the background. It really gives it, this yarn feels really like Southwestern, but in a really like elegant kind of way. I'm not generally someone who enjoys the kind of like deserty, Southwestern-y style colors and stuff. They're just not my thing usually, but I think they can be done in a really elegant, beautiful way. And I feel like this kind of hints at that without being like, you don't look at it and think like, oh, New Mexico. But I think that it looks really nice. So Peggy, I hope you love the yarn that I created. I am going to have these for a limited time, just for a very short time, just a little bit here, probably less than a week on the website, but I'm going to be sending this out in my newsletter and posting on social media, and I will have these available hopefully either when this video comes out or right after. So you can go to my website. The link is the very first link of all of my videos is always my online shop, so you can click on that below in the description box, and it will take you to my website where you can purchase these skeins dyed on your base, a base that you want. They'll be dyed just like we did in the video, and you can purchase as many as you want. Well, I say that. I actually do have to put a limit on how many I can dye right now because of the COVID shutdowns. I have limited supplies, but you can purchase as many as you can get your hands on, and we'll have several bases there for you to choose from, all the way from fingering weight to worsted. So definitely check it out if you're interested. So leave me a comment and let me know what you guys thought of this video. Did you like this format? Did you like seeing a little more of a sneak peek into my process? But I hope you guys enjoyed this. Leave me a comment, give this video a thumbs up. Don't forget to share this with your friends, and make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss the next video. I will talk to you later, but it is now time to cast off. Love you.